Welcome to the 5-Star Preps Walkthrough.
Powered by Coker Rental Company. The Walkthrough delivers important pregame news, breakdowns of the week's biggest matchups, and more from the teams and players you spend your fall Friday nights cheering for.
Are you ready for some football?
We're ready for some football, baby.
Now, join us as our host, Jesse Smithey, and the rest of the 5-Star Preps team deliver the most comprehensive high school football coverage in East Tennessee.
It's time for the 5-Star Preps Walkthrough.
Welcome into Week 8 of the high school football season. You are tuned in to the Walkthrough, a social media show presented by Coker Rental right here on 5starpreps.com. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube Live. So whichever social media app you prefer, you can find this show there. And we have a lot to get to tonight. We're going to set the table as we always do at the top of the show. We're going to rewind a little bit back to Week 7, look at all the region games, the rivalry games that were right there on the marquee in Week 7. There were a lot of them. We're going to take a look at some surprise players from Week 7. Had a handful of those to get to. Highlight package. Oh yeah, player of the week that we're going to unveil on the show tonight. Our Week 8 preview. We're going to deep dive into some of the biggest games that are on the slate for tonight, and there's plenty of them. We got our Waffle House Who's Eating segment. We got our predictions segment, and we have a cool interview with Bearden football coach Josh Jones. They have a huge game tonight against Cleveland, and this has major one-seed implications in the 6A playoff. So we'll talk with him not only about that game against Cleveland, but how they've been able to survive this football schedule that they have week in and week out. Just brutal scheduling there, and they've been able to survive it and still stay in the mix for that one seed. So all that coming up on the show tonight, but let's start off by taking a look back at Week 7, and you have to start off with none other than Alcoa at West. You're talking about 21-time state champion Alcoa coming into Knox County. They've won 8 consecutive state championships in Class 3A, taking on defending 5A state champion West High School. Remember last year, West got the win in the end zone, interception on a pass thrown up by Eli Graff. Unbelievable interception by Ryan Scott, West linebacker, to seal the win 29-26 in 2022. Both teams went on to win state championships. West, though, undefeated at 15-0. And wouldn't you know, this past Friday night, Eli Graff got a little bit of redemption. He played well on offense. He converted fourth down passes. He broke up passes, and he intercepted passes, and he converted a fake punt. He had a 40-something yard punt down inside, I think the 10 or 15-yard line. His fingerprints were all over that win, and that's what you love about sports sometimes, those redemption stories. I know West High School didn't like that, but the Alcoa faithful probably did. And so it was his game and his moment. Elijah Cannon ran like an absolute man in that game for Alcoa, over 100 yards on the ground, and just bled the clock dry there in the fourth quarter, just pounding the football with Elijah Cannon. So the Eli and Eli show got it done. 24-7, Alcoa wins, and they'll move on to try to work towards that Maryville game coming up, I believe, in Week 10. Alcoa has an off week this week, and they'll come back in Week 9 against Scott High School, preparing for that matchup with Maryville. Kind of cool that we're going to get that Alcoa-Maryville matchup here late in the season. I know Maryville's not at its best right now, but it used to be second game of the year, then it became the fourth game of the year and kind of moved around a little bit. So we'll see what it's like in late October between those two rivals, and definitely looking forward to that game. Anderson County 28, Clinton 14, big win for the Mavericks. They've now won 4 games in a row. Go back and watch the tapes from earlier this season. We told you not to press the panic button. This schedule was brutal for Anderson County, especially on the front end of the year. They started off 0-3. They had a number of injuries, one to Moog, Nick Moog, the running back, who really a lot of their offense is kind of based around. And so by the time they started getting healthy, you knew they were going to be okay, and they're going to be okay in 4A. Their record may not look so pretty like it was a year ago when they were undefeated, but 28-14 win over Clinton. Mood ran it like a man. You got Isaiah Hall throwing the football extremely well. He's now over 2,000 yards on the season. So Anderson County, big game coming up this Friday night, tonight against West High School. Another matchup of defending state champions. Bearden, 21-20 win over Maryville in overtime. Bearden goes on the road to Blount County. They haven't beaten Maryville since 1993. They fall down 14-7 in the fourth quarter, and you go, okay, this is the typical Maryville story. Yeah, they struggle a little bit, but they'll salt it away here in the fourth quarter. They'll get that win over Maryville, and that did not happen. Jason Thompson, sophomore running back, 197 yards, 27 carries, 3 touchdowns, just an absolute amazing performance out of him. He gets a big touchdown run, ties it up. Bearden actually has a chance late in the game to kick a field goal and win it outright in regulation. That barely misses. Bearden fans think it was good. Maryville fans think it was no good. The officials said it was no good. So they go to overtime. Bearden scores first. They go up 21-14. Maryville scores on play number 1. Derek Hunt decides to go for it. Go for 2. And Bearden plugs the hole, stops that run by Ori Vananda Walker, and Bearden escapes 21-20. They are now 3-0 in Region 2 6A play. And for Maryville, guys, there is an absolute real-world possibility that Maryville doesn't make the playoffs. Now, they would have to lose here in the coming stretch, these next 2 or 3 weeks, to, say, a Farragut. If they lose that game, Maryville's going to miss the playoffs for the first time since 1996. I'm not counting them out. I'm just saying there is an absolute on-the-table possibility. Now, with Maryville losing that game to Bearden this past Friday night, you look at Region 2 6A, you got Bradley Central, you got Cleveland, and Bearden. Those are your top 3 teams. There's only one more playoff spot out of that region. So Farragut, Maryville kind of vying for that. We'll see who gets it coming up in the next few weeks. Jefferson County, 27-26 win over the rival Morristown West. I believe that game was in overtime as well. Morristown West, man, gosh, can they get a break? They played Greenville close. They played Jefferson County close. I believe they played Elizabethton close. They're due for a big win, maybe sometime in the next few weeks. We'll see. But Jefferson County gets the win. Mason Henderson throws that key touchdown pass. They get the PAT. Jefferson County was able to make Morristown West PAT go awry there in overtime. And, of course, they knock theirs home and get the win. So congratulations to Spencer Riley's crew. Kingston 17-14 win over Loudon. Again, not a region game, but a cool rivalry game out there. Kingston just ran the football extremely well, played the special team game as they were supposed to, and get that win. Carter, 36-19. This Carter team, harder and harder to predict each and every week. They lost 2 consecutive games. They go into this game against Northview Academy. We predicted them to win, and they did, but they shuffled some things around at the quarterback position and still were able to knock off an undefeated Northview Academy team, 36-19. Now Northview has to go and play some really key region matchups against the likes of Elizabethton and Greenville in the coming weeks. And we'll talk about that later on the show. Then finally, this game's not from our region, but McCallie and Baylor, one of the preeminent rivalries in all of Tennessee, private school, Division II AAA. McCallie gets the win 34-31. Maybe this isn't the end. We'll see if these 2 teams reconvene in the postseason, but definitely they are setting the standard in Division II AAA this year. We'll see if maybe there's some kind of all-Chattanooga final in the Division II AAA championship coming up later this year. But there's still some teams in Nashville that record-wise look not good, but are actually really good. Could be some parity in Division II AAA postseason this fall. All right, let's turn the page. Let's look at some of the surprise players from Week 7. Let's start off Boone Brockwell, running back from Gibbs, 298 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns. That is a school record in rushing touchdowns and an unbelievable effort by Boone Brockwell. He's not a surprise player on the whole per se, but that performance is definitely a surprise out of Boone Brockwell. He's averaging 12 yards a carry this year. Did you know that? 12.2 yards a carry for Boone Brockwell. Marquise Barrett, defensive back, receiver from Webb, 3 interceptions last week. 3? Now, we know Marquise is a great receiver and a great defensive back, but man, I didn't see 3 interceptions coming. He's now got 5 on the year. Shane Cherry, perhaps nothing he does anymore should surprise, but 5 rushing touchdowns against Grace Christian last week. 258 yards rushing for Shane Cherry last week against Grace Christian, and he threw for 144 yards in that narrow defeat. They had that game won, let it get away from them, and we'll see Shane Cherry do more marvelous things in games to come. Hayden Goad from Greenville, 2 interceptions, returned 1 for a touchdown. He forced a fumble. He recovered a fumble. He had 2 pass breakups. He had 65 yards receiving and a receiving touchdown. Unbelievable effort by Hayden from Greenville High School, getting that win over Sullivan East, and bigger games to come for Greenville, but definitely a surprise player last week. And finally, shout out to Dexter Molden from Fulton. Fulton gets its first win. Dexter passes for 282 yards, rushes for 77, and that shootout with, I believe, South Doyle last week. So shout out to Dexter Molden, Hayden Goad, Shane Cherry, Marquise Barrett, Boone Brockwell for being our 5 surprise players from Week 7. All right, speaking of Week 7, let's take a break and look at some of the highlights from Week 7. And when we come back, we're going to take a look at stat leaders. We're going to dive into Week 8. We're going to talk with Bearden football coach Josh Jones. But here's some highlights from last week.
Play smart. Bank smart. Smart Bank. For more information, visit smartbank.com.
Welcome back in on the walkthrough presented by rentcoker.com. Coker Rentals up in North Knoxville, supporting this show all season long. All you contractors out there, construction guys, make sure you're going to rentcoker.com for skid steers, scissor lifts, loaders, mulchers, power washers, everything you need in your construction projects. They have it, dumpsters, and so much more. They outline their pricing. They're a family-owned business here in East Tennessee. Make sure you're going local, you're supporting local, not the big chains out there. These guys do it right. They're going to treat you right. And I love working with them here on the show, rentcoker.com. And I love that they've been supporting us here on the walkthrough here in 2023. All right, as promised, let's unveil our statistical leaders after Week 7's games. You can find all these on 5starpreps.com. We go really deep on the rushing yards, passing, tackles, everything. But here are the leaders. The leaders alone, number one guy in each statistical category. In rushing yards, it's Tegan Avera, the running back from Gatlinburg Pittman High School. 1,178 yards this year to lead the area. Boone Brockwell, we talked about him in the last segment, running back for Gibbs. He leads the area with 17 rushing touchdowns. Isaiah Hall is our leading passer with 2,085 yards. Passing touchdowns, Jack Wagner from Webb, 21. Brady Hammonds from Gatlinburg Pittman, 21. Noah Summers from Oakdale, 21. Those guys have been lighting it up this year. Nehemiah Cooney, from Oakdale is our leading receiver with 954 yards already. He also has 12 touchdowns receiving. That is tops in the area, along with Whit Whaley from Gatlinburg Pittman. All right, let's flip over to the defense. Joyce out at Cosby with 104. Damon Marable from Clinton with 100. And our leading tackles for Lost Guy is Evan Potticher from Northview Academy with 22 this year already. Sacks, you got Charvon Thomas from Powell with 8. Interceptions, Bryson Hedrick of Sevier County with 10 this year. 10 interceptions already in just 6 games. Unbelievable effort. He had 3 last week. We'll talk about that more to come. Conan Littlefield from Kingston, 31 touchbacks this year. He leads the area. Punting, you got Mason Phillips from Northview Academy, 46.6 yards a punt on 12 attempts. And finally, Conan Littlefield from Kingston leads the area in kicking points with 47. But more than 60 schools report their statistics to us each and every week. You can find all the leaders and see who's doing well right there on 5starpreps.com. Check those out. Get prepared for the week's games tonight and see who's been killing it lately in high school football. All right, let's dive into Week 8. Many games to get to. We talked about West and Anderson County, where they are in their seasons coming out of Week 7. This is a matchup of defending state champions, West in 5A, Anderson County in 4A. And the question again is this week, is Marshawn Bowers going to play, the running back from West High School? He is a senior. He was the difference maker in so many of West High School's wins earlier this year when they continued that 15-0 year a year ago into this year with a 6-0 start, ran that win streak to 21 games, but he's been absent lately with injury. And we watched him in pregame warmups against Alcoa. He was dressed out, had the shoulder pads, the full gear on, looked like he was going to give it a go. Fans chanted his name all night over at West High School saying, "We want Marshawn." He did not play in that game. Was it disappointing? Yes. Is it understandable? Absolutely so. West is thinking bigger picture here, folks. Yeah, I know they want to win that game against Alcoa, but that's a 5A versus the 3A game. And it's a great rivalry and everything that went into it. But West wants another state championship, and they cannot win that without Marshawn Bowers. So perhaps he doesn't go again tonight against Anderson County. Again, this game is fun because it's defending state champion versus defending state champion, but it has no implications whatsoever on West High School and their chase for another 5A state championship. So perhaps he goes, maybe he goes a little bit as they work him in towards the latter weeks of the regular season. That remains to be seen, but a big time matchup on paper, West and Anderson County, just how that West defense with CJ Smith and company take on Anderson County's high-flying offense with Isaiah Hall. You heard me tell you that he's got over 2,000 yards passing this year, and Nick Moog has 16 rushing touchdowns. So West defense will have its hands full this Friday night. Cleveland at Bearden. Bearden won this game a year ago, stayed in the mix for that 1 seed for a while in Region 2-6A, but ultimately did not get that. This is a critical game for Bearden. They win this game, they're looking at hosting a first-round playoff game in the 6A playoffs, whether they get the 1 seed or not. If they win this one and drop another region game, they'll probably still be the 2 seed. So that's what's on the line for Bearden High School tonight. We'll be joined by Josh Jones in just a moment to discuss that game even more. Carnes at Campbell County. Carnes and Campbell County probably playing for a playoff spot in this game. We'll see how that goes. Campbell County not really playing its best football of the year right now, but definitely has the system and has the quarterback to get this win with Landon Hensley. Been throwing the football a lot over the last couple of years, and Carnes, we'll see where they are at full strength-wise going into this game against Campbell County, but keep an eye on that one. That one's for a playoff spot, most likely. Northview Academy, 6-0 to start the year. They dropped their first game of the year last week against Carter. Now they have to go on the road to Elizabethton, one of the state standards in 4A football. Justin Anderson has gone to Northview Academy to be the head coach. He has done a masterful job in bringing that program to prominence and to relevance, but now is the true litmus test. Where do they stand against the big boys? Anderson County had to go through this process. Remember, they used to have to go against Greenville. They used to have to go against Elizabethton. And sometimes there were some painful losses, but in the end, it paid off. They won a state championship, and it pushed their program, again, to prominence, to statewide prominence, to championship level. Northview Academy is going to go on the road and see what it's like to play against Elizabethton. And whatever the outcome, they're going to get better for it. Whether they win or lose, they're going to be better for that going up against Coach Witten's bunch up there at Elizabethton. Oak Ridge at Farragut is a fun rivalry game. 6A Farragut versus 5A Oak Ridge, so it doesn't really have playoff implications, but both of these teams want to win. Farragut's kind of hit the skids here lately. They need a win to kind of get some confidence back, find a way to get into the playoffs. Oak Ridge coming off of a win. They want to keep building up steam towards November. And so fun matchup here. Farragut's kind of owned this matchup lately. 13-4 against Oak Ridge since the mid-2000s. Oak Ridge looking to break that streak. Carter at Gibbs this Friday night. Carter, again, coming off of a big win over Northview Academy. They shook some things up offensively, played different guys at quarterback, and they get the win, and now they must stop the run of Boone Brockwell and Gibbs. A critical region game here between Carter and Gibbs, that prime seeding. Remember, the top 2 teams in each region secure home field in that first round game. So that's kind of what's on the line between these two programs. Also, with playoff implications, we turn our sights down to Lenoir City. Clinton versus Lenoir City. Clinton dropped this game, if I remember right, a year ago, and it severely damaged their playoff hopes. Clinton likely in the playoffs right now, but they want to improve their seeding. They need this win over Lenoir City to possibly get a 2 seed and get that home playoff game in round 1. It's all going to be about stopping Trey Wilhite. He leads Lenoir City in rushing. He is their top defensive player. He has defensive touchdowns galore, offensive touchdowns galore. Clinton has to find a way to limit him on Friday night. Harriman at Rockwood, state's oldest rivalry. Shout out to those two communities. Love going down there for that. And then Catholic at Brentwood Academy. Catholic needs a Division II win in the worst way. Brentwood Academy needs a Division II win in the worst way. So going to be a lot of drama in that one. All right, as promised, we have a really cool interview with Josh Jones, the Bearden football coach, now in his second year. And you want to talk about bringing a program back to prominence and relevance. That's what Josh Jones has done. 4-2, winners of 4 straight. They are 3-0 in Region 2, 6A, and a chance to get that 1 seed. Here's our conversation with Josh Jones. Now joined by Josh Jones, head football coach at Bearden High School. And Josh, congratulations on the season so far. I know it didn't start off win-wise like you guys wanted it, but you're right in position, right where you need to be, right?
Yes, ultimately the grand scheme of things, what matters is region play. But, as a competitor, and kids and stuff, they want to win anytime the scoreboard's on and the referees are are out there. But got off to a little slow start. Did some good things, just not enough to win games. And region plays obviously, like I said, is the primary goal. And we've played 3 good teams, and we've played well enough to win in each of them, and got an incredibly tough test coming up, tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll talk about that Cleveland game in just a minute. And the old coaching rule is you celebrate a win for 24 hours, but did you celebrate that win for over Maryville a little bit longer?
I'd be lying if I said I did. I wanted to. You don't get them kind of wins often, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but man, when you beat Maryville, then you got to stare down the barrel of a gun at Cleveland. It's hard to celebrate it longer than 24 hours, but it was a good, fun weekend. It really was. And when our kids showed back up on Sunday, one thing I can say about them, it was awesome. Was it wasn't a whole lot of sidebar conversations going on. About Friday, they were ready to turn the page and get on the next week. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that type of mentality to have out of a high school group, I think, is rare. But when you look at your schedule, I mean, you can't really afford to. I mean, you guys haven't been able to afford to really rest at all this year. I mean, every single game has been difficult, and it will continue that way.
It is brutal. It is like no days off, no weeks off. You've got to bring your A game every week, or you're going to wear a tail whipping home. And as a competitor, you love a challenging schedule. You love to play good teams. Every time we play, the environment's crazy because it's a big game. It's got some implications on the line and all that. But sometimes you'd like to come up for air, but it is what it is. And that's the schedule that, we were dealt with. And, but man, I'm just so proud of our kids and our staff. They've, business-like approach every day. Obviously, can't afford to overlook anybody. And it's, we didn't get to enjoy the Maryville win as long as we'd wanted due to the opponent, but it is what it is.
I don't want you to give too many secrets away, but I know there has been some injuries to some key players over the last few weeks. Is there hope that a few of those guys will be able to rejoin the team before playoffs begin, or where does that stand?
Knock on wood, barring any setbacks, we think we get everybody back in the next 1 to 2 weeks. So everybody's treading ahead of schedule in terms of the rehab. Our trainer, Nicole, she is phenomenal. She does a great job. She's professional, and she's got a plan for each and every kid. This specific to the kid's injury and his needs and all that. Man, she's just been incredible during all this. And without her, I don't know what we'd be doing. But the kids are working hard. They're taking their rehab serious, and they're missing. Been out there with their brothers, and they can't wait to join them here in a week or two and get back out there.
One of the guys missing has been Jaheim Merriweather, Purdue commitment, a guy that I know had a lot of people excited, but he's been kind of relegated to the sideline. Meanwhile, Jason Thompson over the last 4 games has been phenomenal. I know back in the spring he was getting offers from a lot of Division I schools, but what have you seen out of him on the field this fall that's just sparked a lot of excitement out of you?
The biggest thing with Jason is it started back in January in the weight room. He was adamant to put on more weight. He was adamant to try to get faster, and it's just a lot more serious to him now. And I told we had a ton of schools come into spring, colleges I'm speaking of, and I told every last one of them, we're going down our list. They always start with the next class, 24s, and we would do our 24s and 25s. Then when we get to the 26s, I told every one of them, I was like, write this name down, remember it. He's a dude. Every offer he got was guys that came to watch practice, didn't know who in the world he was. I remember the West Virginia deal. He's like, man, who's number 6? Is he a 24? And I'm like, no, man, he's a 26. He's like, you got to be kidding. He's like, do you care if I offer him after practice? I said, absolutely not. And so he's got a business-like approach. Him and Jaheim, man, they have been great for each other. Jai has been a great teammate, tried to mentor Jay a little bit. And, Coach Crawford and Coach McMillan's done a great job with them guys. The running backs and, getting them, teaching the finer points. Some of the running backs can be very natural, right? You know, you don't want to overcoach those positions. You don't want the mind to tie up the feet. But they just coach the small details and the fundamentals and techniques, and they're really, really, growing, in that regard.
This Friday night, a game against Cleveland High School. They're 5-1, I think 1-0 in region play. I went to that game last year that you guys won, I believe, against Cleveland, but this is a different looking team on the field and on the sidelines too, right?
Yeah, they got a new staff, man. Coach Tygart and his staff's doing a great job down there. They got a lot of buzz going on. They're 5-1. Golly, man, I went and watched them. We were off a couple Fridays ago, and I went and watched them play Farragut. And first thing I noticed was this, eye test, just wow, good looking kids. And I don't mean 2 or 3 of them. They got a whole bunch of them. And both sides of the football, they got playmakers. They're big they're big in the trenches on both sides. They're well coached, and they do some stuff that we've not seen. Offensively, they do some stuff we've not seen with how fast they are. They're I was joking the other day with somebody that interviewed me. They said they're the, Tennessee offense of high school football, and how fast they operate, and they execute it well and do a good job. So we got a tough task, but, our kids are excited about that. We're getting to play at home with our few home games. We only got 4 of them this year. And so we're excited to play in front of our crowd. And we know it's going to be a great test, a great challenge.
The last year around this point, you guys were right in the thick of things region-wise and had a chance to win a region championship. What do you feel like the lesson was learned in October last year that you could carry over to this fall?
The thing about our kids, man, is they love to compete. Last year, with it was like, it felt like at times, in October we had some good moments, some inconsistent moments. Like, felt like we maybe had hit a wall at times last year, and we're not sensing that. I think we've busted through it, and these last couple of weeks have been big program wins for us. And we see, right before our eyes, our kids are growing up, and they're taking the next step, what it takes to be a consistently winning program.
All right. Well, Josh, I appreciate your time today. I know it's homecoming week, I think, at Bearden, so a lot of things are going on and kind of craziness. So I appreciate you working me in, and best of luck to you guys on Friday night.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. You guys welcome Bearden High School anytime.
Welcome back into the walkthrough presented by Coker Rentals. Again, rentcoker.com for all your construction project needs. All you contractors out there, you're going to need scissor lifts, loaders, excavators, so much more. Rentcoker.com is your place to be for that. Thank you so much to rentcoker.com and Coker Rentals, local owned, family owned here in Knoxville, for supporting the show tonight and always. Congratulations are in order to Bryson Hedrick, our player of the week, Sevier County sophomore defensive back. 3 interceptions in that win last week, now giving him 10 interceptions. The state record, you ask? That's 14. But he's still got a few more games to go. We'll see what he does with that, and see if he can maybe tie that, surpass that. And he did really well as a freshman last year. He was all 5-star preps, underclassmen, and definitely going to be in the mix for underclassman of the year for defensive player if he keeps up his performance. So Bryson Hedrick, congratulations, our player of the week. Wasn't able to get an interview with him Thursday. They had a game going on, but I did want to give him a huge shout out here on the show. All right, it's our time. We put the Waffle House segment at the end of the show because it's the most popular. That's what you guys love. Waffle House Who's Eating segment each and every week. We post on Instagram. You see the Waffle House logo. You know it's time to drop your player prediction. We know Bennett Campbell from Anderson County. We know Will Spill from Webb. Those two get the lion's share of the nominations, and rightfully so. They're big-time players. Bryson Vowell says, aliens have the death beam pointed down to Earth, and you got one guy that can save you. I want at Bennett Campbell. I agree. Bennett Campbell is going to eat in week 8. As always, he's a baller. All right, Tyler Lee from Fulton High School said his guy at SG_Dexter is going to ball out in week 8, that he's going to eat. Will Spill, always. Parker Whitaker says Weston Edmondson, quarterback from Grace Christian, is going to go. We'll see if that plays out. A lot more nominations for Will Spill. Landon Collins, wide receiver from Farragut. We'll see if that happens. Somebody just said, hey, Alcoa's going to eat. Well, Alcoa's not playing this week, but thanks for the nomination. Maybe next week against Scott High School. Yeah, they will definitely eat. Grayson Vinsel from Lenore City says Trey Wilhite, yet again. I can't argue. I mean, that dude every week is eating like 150, 200 yards. Interception return for a touchdown. Last week it was a 99-yard defensive return for a touchdown. Big time player. Amari Lethgo is the nomination of former Halls player Caden Earl. Amari Lethgo, former player of the week winner, a quarterback from Halls High School. Definitely one to keep an eye on. David Drada says Hunter Dance. That's the quarterback from West High School. I'd love to see him eat. I know Anderson County didn't want to hear that, but Hunter had a rough go of it last week against Alcoa, and he's a first-year starting quarterback, and you want to see that bounce-back effort. So definitely keeping an eye on Hunter Dance, see how he does in that game against Anderson County. All right, a few more. Dom Culp is nominated from Halls High School. Definitely have liked what I've seen out of him this year. Torrin McAfee from Central High School nominated. Kai Isom, that game was Thursday night against Sevier County. Tavion Ray, running back. This is what I love. Tavion Ray was the running back for West High School last week in that loss to Alcoa. I mean, his number got called all night long. He nominates Marshawn Bowers, Devin Jamison, and Wren, one of his teammates. So maybe those guys play. If he's nominating them to eat, maybe those guys play. We missed them in week 7. So Tavion Ray maybe giving us a scoop there. Maybe. We'll see. Chris Hunter nominates Walker Lockhart. Walker, one of the better players in the area from Carnes High School. Guys, there's like hundreds and hundreds. Check it out on Instagram, /5 Star Preps. You can find us there. And so much more. Volleyball photos, videos, photo galleries. We have, and I'll put our photography people up against anybody. Photos, videos, just everything are unbelievable right there on social media. 25,000 followers strong. Thank you guys so much for following us on all of our social media channels. We're on Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. Hit us up on TikTok. We're on Threads, Facebook, everything. So, all right. Those were your player predictions. It's time for our game predictions here on 5 Star Preps. We got 4 big ones this Friday night. West at Anderson County. We like West to bounce back in this game 22-17. Again, their defense is going to have to shine. Anderson County can put so much pressure on your secondary with their throwing ability. And, of course, Nick Mood can just pound the ball all night long with the ground game. So, West going to have to grind this one out, I think, 22-17. We like the Rebels. Cleveland at Bearden. Bearden a little dinged up. Still don't have Jaheim Merriweather. We heard Josh Jones in the last segment talking about some of the players that he'll possibly get back. But we'll see. A lot of players dinged up at this point in the year for Bearden. It's been a really rough schedule, but I like Bearden. 31-21. I think they might throw the football tonight a little more than we expected. Last week, I think they only threw like 2 or 3 times. I think we're going to see Bearden open it up a little bit more in the pass game. I could be wrong, but just a hunch. Oak Ridge at Farragut. I like Oak Ridge to win this game 35-30. I think it's going to be a really fun game. Nice receivers on both sides, on both sidelines with Landis Davila from Farragut, Landon Collins from Farragut, and then, of course, Oak Ridge has Brandon Hayward and Almani Rembert. But the run game with Jarvis Dozier for Oak Ridge, I think gives them a slight edge in this one. So Oak Ridge 35, Farragut 30, and then finally Gibbs 35, Carter 27. I may have shortchanged them each 3 touchdowns. This game might end up being combined over 100 points between the two, but it's for a region spot. I think there might be a little bit more defense plays, a few more defensive stops, more passion in this game. 35-27 Gibbs over Carter. We predicted about 40 games this week, so if you want to see them all, hop on to 5starpreps.com. Check all those out. Now is the perfect time to subscribe to 5starpreps.com. We got the playoffs coming up. We have volleyball playoff coverage going on the site. We have soccer coverage coming up on the site. We've been covering postseason golf. We got cross-country stuff on the site. Nobody covers high school better than 5starpreps.com. Thank you guys for supporting us. It's what we love to do, and your support makes it possible. Subscriptions, sponsorships, everything help us populate the area with writers, photographers, videographers, and so much more. So thank you again for doing that. Week 9, let's take a look at the calendar real quick. There's not a lot going on next week. There's fall break, and 201 schools in Tennessee have a bye next week. That's half the teams. Half the teams are off next week in week 9. We're in middle of October. We're supposed to be playing football. We're supposed to be locking down playoff spots. It's hopefully something could be done. Maybe this is just a fluke year and so many different school systems, fall break, all lined up. I don't want this to be a growing trend. We're in week 9 every year. We have 11 weeks of the regular season, and we're in week 9 when so much drama, parity is supposed to be happening, and then half the school or half the state is just taken off. I understand not playing in fall break. I understand that the gates are bad. I understand that people want their breaks. They go places with family. I understand all that. But I'm hopeful that the state association could somehow encourage some staggering or some people to play somehow, offer financial incentives. People probably laughed at that, I'm sure. But I don't know. I just love high school football at this time of the year, and I don't want to see all the teams just taking a break in week 9. But let's take a look at week 9. We do have a few interesting matchups. Lipscomb Academy comes to Knoxville to take on Knoxville Catholic. So you'll get a chance to see some big-time players from Lipscomb Academy and on Catholic go at it in a key region game. Thursday night, Jefferson County at Farragut. That could be a fun game. But there's not a lot to choose. Bearden at Oak Ridge, not a region game, but definitely a fun one there. Maryville at Cleveland is a critical region game, but guys, outside of that, we don't have much going on. So be a nice way to, I guess, kind of catch a breath, get a breather in before all the drama of week 10 and week 11. But not too much to get excited about next week. We'll still do a show. All right, that's it for tonight's show. Thank you again for joining us. Thanks for Josh Jones, Bearden football coach, for joining us on the program. Thank you to Coker Rental for making this possible. And thank you to all the fans for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
Welcome to the 5-Star Preps Walkthrough.
Powered by Coker Rental Company. The walkthrough delivers important pregame news, breakdowns of the week's biggest matchups, and more from the teams and players you spend your fall Friday nights cheering for.
Are you ready for some football?
We're ready for some football, baby.
Now, join us as our host, Jesse Smithey, and the rest of the 5-Star Preps team deliver the most comprehensive high school football coverage in East Tennessee.
It's time for the 5-Star Preps Walkthrough.
Endless hold times and that user-friendly website can just add to your frustrations when you need business to run on time. Your contact, who is just a phone call away, doesn't turn out to be so available after all. Best Logistics Group puts you first. When our team promises we can handle that, you can count on us to be there when you need us, not just when it's convenient. To put an end to your supply chain headaches, just remember there's Best Logistics Group.
Technology has certainly made everyone better, but it's the people that separate the good from the best.
When you shop at Elliott's, your journey is our purpose.
North Knox Siding and Windows is a complete exterior home improvement company that can help you with all your exterior needs. Visit us today at 5618 North Broadway.